Welcome back to Hanging Out with my cookbook authors. I have a fantastic guest today. She has a new book out. It's called Getting Sauced. It has some recipes in it, but it's also a hilarious tale of her life as a producer for food television for the last 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Karen S. Katz.
Hi there.
Hi, Karen.
Great to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited to talk to you about this book and have you tell me some wonderful, hilarious stories about your life. It's really funny. I thoroughly enjoyed. I haven't got to read the whole thing, but I've thoroughly enjoyed what I've gotten through so far. You are witty, you are funny, and it sounds like you've had a great and fun career.
I have had a very blessed life. What can I say? Food has been very good to me. So. For many years, I was Emeril Lagasse's executive producer, and I was at Food Network for over 10 years, and I worked on other food shows elsewhere. And it's kind of a fun scene backstage. And, whenever I would go to a party, people would find out what I did, and they got all excited, and they loved the story. So I had the idea for the book in my head for years, and, COVID was good for one thing. It allowed me the time to actually write it. So I did.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to write it. So how did you get into this? Let's just go back to your childhood. Did you always want to be a producer for food television?
No, actually, not at all. When I started at the Food Network, it was in the late 90s. And Food Network wasn't even a very established network yet. It was pretty rinky-dink. They had shows on like How to Boil Water and Three Dog Bakery. But I was a producer. I was a freelance producer. You go where the work is. And, I was in between jobs. And so I got a call from an old colleague of mine. And I thought, is this going to be the kiss of death to my career? Because food shows were not cool at the time. But I said, I'll do it for 6 months. We'll see how it goes. And those 6 months turned into, 13 years.
Love it. So were you a foodie to begin with? Did you like food, or were you just this is a job?
Yeah. I always loved food, but I just like a regular person. I had no culinary background. As a matter of fact, my mother was a horrible cook. I mean, she had 3 spices in her pantry, and that was it. So, I really didn't have any formal training, but they had plenty of culinary people at Food Network at the time. They just didn't have a lot of professional TV people. So I feel that slate. But I really got like a culinary degree by producing there, because you just can't not learn by osmosis. And
right.
The people behind the scenes in the kitchen, they were lovely to me. And, if I knew what I was doing, then it made their jobs easier. So they were very supportive. And through them, I really learned how to cook. And obviously from the talent on screen.
Yeah. And so there is a recipe at the end of every chapter, which is fun. Where did the recipes get inspired from?
Well, I kind of try to, obviously I talk a lot about food and what I was learning along the way. So, there is some about my childhood, and there was one person in my life who didn't know how to cook, and that was my grandmother, my Nana. And so when I refer to that story, I, give her a secret apple pie recipe, which I have still yet to make as good as she does. But, there's all kinds of recipes in there, just, as I go along and what I learned. I was at shooting in Napa, and I met Steve Sando of Rancho Gordo Beans. And I was like, what's the difference about a bean is a bean? And as it turns out, no. There's a lot to know about beans. And so I use his beautiful Christmas lima beans in a lamb cassoulet. So that recipe's at the end of that chapter.
Very nice. Just a lot of anecdotes. Is there a favorite story or a couple of your favorite just anecdotal stories that are in here that you just love to tell at dinner parties?
Sure. Well, everyone always asks me, who, because, on Emerald Live, we had celebrities all the time. We had a lot of musical guests and chefs that would come on the show. But the one that really, hands down, was the most impactful was when Julia Child came on the show. And this was late in her life. She was probably in her late 80s at the time. And, you would have thought the Queen of England had come to Food Network because everybody was just, on their best behavior. And why wouldn't we be? And, the moment came when I was, introduced to Julia as the producer. And she said, yes, dear, where's the kitchen? Like she wanted nothing to do with us production people, but she wanted to meet the culinary staff. So I took her back into the kitchen, and she talked to every single person in the kitchen, including the dishwashers. And she genuinely wanted to know where, what made them tick, what they were interested in, where they went to culinary school. She was really lovely to them, and it was really a very special time. And she was so funny on the show. She was great.
Aww.
It's great.
I wonder if we can still find that episode. Can we still find that episode?
Emerald Live, believe it or not, is still broadcasting on Roku. So,
all right.
And I bet there are clips on YouTube. I'm sure there are.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful story. You literally got popped all over the world in like some situations that you didn't expect to be in.
True. Well, in the food world, I was pretty much in the States, but towards the end of the book, I get an opportunity to go to Singapore and to work on a competition show that actually had nothing to do with food, but it really is sort of where I don't want to have any spoilers, but it's really, that's really what my second book's about. That one's going to be called Getting Steeped. How I learned
Getting steeped.
How I learned that the world really is a small place after all. So.
Well, that's fun. Make sure to look out for book number 2.
Yeah, I have to finish it first. But
So what was it? So eventually, so you weren't just in the studio all the time.
No.
Even for Emerald, maybe at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you guys started traveling around and doing more on the road stuff.
Yeah, in the beginning, the budgets were tight, but as the show got really wildly successful, the higher-ups at Food Network really gave me carte blanche to do other things. They wanted me to get out of the studio. They wanted me to do different kinds of things. And it was so much fun because it was like, I could do whatever I wanted to do. And the first big show we did on the road was in Chicago. They have an annual event called the Taste of Chicago. And we did a cooking concert in the middle of Grant Park, which is like doing it in Central Park, and in front of 10,000 people. And we had no idea if people would show or not, but the day of, there they were. And it was really thrilling because we had live music. Nell Carter and Charlie Musselwhite came to perform, and Emerald was on fire that day. I had no idea how he would do in front of a crowd that size, but he was
a rock star.
He was a rock star, and he really is. So he did a great job.
That's awesome. Serious question though. So while working all those years, how many leftovers did you get to eat?
You should ask. Not as much as you think.
Really?
The other shows, everybody ate everything. But on our show, we had a studio audience, and I don't know if you remember, but we used to have a bar where Emerald would serve people. And so I would say 95% of the food really went to the audience. So it was actually unusual to have any of his food. When we did location things, that's another story. But we did. I certainly had I was well fed, not to worry. I was very well fed.
Well, that explains the draw to actually be in studio. Yeah.
Yeah.
The draw to actually get tickets and go to an Emerald show because you might get to taste some food.
Yeah, and people did. We really tried to do that. So, and I think people had a good time.
Yes. So besides the book, what are you up to nowadays?
Well, the writing has really been a whole new thing for me, and I'm loving it.
A new chapter, if you will.
New chapter. And I've produced for many, many years, and as one gets more mature, shall we say, the kinds of shows I did became kind of painful. I mean, it's just physically very taxing and long hours, and as much as I loved it, my whole career I've been telling stories, and whether it's through television or what, and this I found to be so much more fun without the hassles of everybody else around me. So, the book has been getting some great, being received really well, and I have a few more in me, and I'm going to give it a go.
All right, the author phase.
The author phase of my life.
I love it. I've recently decided that I'm a farmer.
There you go. Okay. And that
I didn't know. Apparently, I interviewed an urban farming expert, and he convinced me that I don't have a brown thumb and that anybody can grow things. And all you need to be a farmer is to have grown something and name your farm.
There you go. So what's your farm name?
So the whole thing came out of I'm making a documentary called Off the Shelf, where you can't purchase anything from any corporate grocery stores or eat any processed foods. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll give gardening a go. So my farm name is Off the Shelf Farms.
I like it.
And I got a few things started. I got some blueberries and a raspberry bush and a mandarin tree and my parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
That's good. Well, I have a bit of an urban garden myself, but I do live in Brooklyn, so it's limited. But
well, that's the point of it. That's why it's an urban garden.
I'm sorry?
That's why it's an urban garden, right?
Exactly. I have my own little herb garden as well. We just planted it just the other day, actually. And my husband grows tomatoes and hot peppers, and that's about all we really can do well here in Brooklyn.
Have space for?
Yeah.
I almost got one of those. You seen the towers? The plant tower that you can just grow 50 different types of vegetables out of the side, which I'm like, would you get 2 tomatoes and a head of lettuce?
Exactly.
Then you gotta wait 3 months to get another one.
Exactly. Yeah, we once grew a cantaloupe, and we waited all season, and just we were gonna pick it, and then we thought maybe one more day, and then the damn squirrels got it. So it was heartbreaking. But
I bet they enjoyed it.
They did.
They knew too. They're like, it's going to be perfectly ripe tomorrow. We're going to get it tomorrow. Yeah. And you had the same idea.
Our squirrels are very sophisticated and picky here in Brooklyn, so they only go for the good organic. So. Oh,
organic squirrels, smart squirrels.
Yeah, smart.
Too bad they're smarter than the people most of the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're finally, hopefully, in a changing landscape, or at least we're all getting a little mad.
Yeah, well, we have to be. We have to get mad.
And oh man, I've walked out of so many stores now, and I just can't believe it. I picked up dried herbs. You know the little containers of dried herbs? Mm-hmm. I have a little peel on the top. You ever looked at the ingredient list on that dried herb?
No.
The second ingredient is canola oil.
Wow.
For some reason. I don't know why. There's all these perfectly good items of food out there, and you'll be reading the list, and then you'll just be like, oh, why? You were so close to being good. Yeah. And then you're like, nah.
Not so much, yeah. But we did a very, after Emerald Live, we did a show called Emerald Green, which was very environmentally conscious show. And it was for Planet Green, which became another Discovery Network. But we did a week of shows up in Hardwick, Vermont, which is this sort of epicenter of a utopian farm-to-table experience. Everyone in the community is involved. So the farmers grow the vegetables, the restaurants use his vegetable, they take the compost goes back to him. And they really have it going on. The whole cycle. It's a little bit more involved than that. But it was fascinating, and ever since that, I won't buy anything that isn't grown within miles from New York, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference, and to support the local farmers. It
really does. So like when I didn't even know I was doing it at the time, but like for like my show, I would always, when I was looking for a restaurant or a chef to go to, I would just get on TripAdvisor and I would just Google farm to table. And then I would go to the website. And if you get to the website and the chef is obviously a very prominent part of the website, the about, then you know that you have a good worker owner, farm to table chef on your hands who's trying to do good things and going to be great to interviews. And call them and, hey, you want to be on my TV show? And just
there you go.
Head over there. But I wasn't consciously making the choice to avoid like restaurants that order from Cisco or, from the big providers. I just felt like the people involved in the restaurant were more involved that way.
Yeah.
In the full spectrum of the culinary experience and more entertaining to interview. I wasn't even like really thinking, my health at the time.
Right.
But now I literally won't eat it anywhere that like I walk into a place and I'm like, where do you get your meat from? They're like Cisco. And I'm like, all right, bye.
Yeah.
It's really difficult.
It is. But, well, I guess it depends where you live. But it's not, there's enough purveyors around and farmers around many areas. I shouldn't say everywhere, but at least for us that, there's nothing we really can't get that's close to here, except for avocados.
Yeah. You also, all of upstate New York is just all farmland.
Yeah,
too,
Hudson Valley is amazing,
Yeah. I love me my farmers. But anyway, we're saving the world with our dollars, and your dollars should definitely be spent on getting sauced because she's a wonderful, hilarious lady and has really great insights into the behind the scenes of hanging out with some super famous chefs and learning how to cook vis-a-vis.
Yeah.
Sauced. You're a saucy lady, Karen. You're a very saucy lady.
Thank you. I did learn how to make sauce too. But, back, when you were talking about farmers, and it reminded me of a story of this mushroom forager that I met in California called Ed the Fun Guy. And, he took me, he had this van or, almost like a Winnebago in the middle of the woods, and all of these wannabe foragers would come and, they would know which mushrooms to pick. And I had my first, he handed me a chanterelle. And I thought I knew what a chanterelle felt like and looked like because they cost, at the time, $24 a pound in DeLuca. But it was a totally different thing. It was cold, it was firm, it wasn't wrinkly, and, whatever that I was looking for. And, it made me realize, first of all, what a great opportunity that I got to actually have food that came right from nature. I've had oysters out of the Gulf, right on the boat. And it's unbelievable. You could eat dozens of them. It's unbelievable what things really should taste like. And, I've been lucky to have those experiences. And they're in the book.
Yeah, they're in the book. They're in the book, people. The difference between a farmer's market or a produce stand, red pepper, and a grocery store. This is from Food Line. I think my wife bought it last night. It's a number 4, so it was grown with pesticides. And it's red, but you get a red pepper from the farmer, and it is ruby, just beautiful, this deep, rich, like maroon, purple, red. God, it's unexplainable, just the difference and just the beauty of it. Right? Well, you slice it open, it just glows.
And the taste, like tomatoes. Growing your own tomatoes. There's nothing better than a tomato picked right out of the garden. Nothing better.
Night and day. And yet somehow we just throw out all of this. Wow. We throw out so much food to the population that is just lackluster.
Yeah.
And we think that's what it's supposed to look like. And till someone's like, "Hey, come over to Bobby's farm. I got pepper. We're gonna have salad." And you're like, "Oh my God, this cucumber is so much more flavor, and everything has so much more flavor."
And it makes your dishes taste so much better. I mean, it's all, it's always about the ingredients.
And you feel better, even if I don't know if it's a placebo. I'm pretty sure it's not, because the lack of chemicals definitely makes me feel better. Just in the last 2 months that I haven't eaten fast food, I haven't had soda, I haven't had any corn syrup, I haven't had that much seed oil.
Mm-hmm. I would think you would feel better.
Yeah, but the seed oil is the hardest to avoid because they just slip it a little bit into everything.
It's cutting back on alcohol. That made a difference for me.
Not drinking. I now only drink tequila if I drink.
Oh, my liquor of choice too. Yeah.
Because 100% agave tequila is like 1,000 times less damaging to your body than the next thing, which is red wine from France or Italy, not from America. American red wine's high in arsenic and tannins, and it's not great.
Yeah.
But a little bit of really good tequila doesn't convert into, I can't think of the word, but it's a toxic poison that causes the hangovers and everything.
Right.
And tequila does that far less than every other alcohol on the planet. So if you're going to drink, you shouldn't drink, but if you're going to,
well, every now and then, can't be perfect.
Tequila. Arriba. I bet there's probably a tequila story buried in here. Somewhere. It might not be in the book, but I bet it's a roundabout.
There's a couple of drinking stories in there for sure. I mean, one of the things I have in the book is the top 10 tips for how to hang out with a chef. Because yes, they are a lusty bunch when it comes to food and drink. So you have to be able to pace yourself, because as a mere mortal, you can't keep up. So I don't know if you've ever hung out with a chef, but
one or two.
Yeah, so it can be a rough night. So if you're working like I always was, you have to really learn how to pace. So I have a whole system for how to do that.
And somehow they still woke up in the morning and got it done, right?
Yeah, you got to get it done. But there is a running theme of alcohol in the book as well. The first time that I went out with my team in Emerald before we shot for the first time, we went out for a lunch, middle of the summer. And, I had some personal stuff going on, and I was preoccupied, and I wasn't really paying attention to how much I was drinking. And, when Emerald would go into a restaurant, I mean, the seas would part, the waiters would fuss, everyone's, all there, refilling your glasses every second. And I lost track of, what I was drinking. And literally in the middle of lunch, I had to get up, excuse myself, and I had the room was spinning. I mean, it was a rough time. The dirty.
I will see you all tomorrow. Yeah, I mean that'll happen because people just wine glasses just never empty, and I don't know how.
I don't know how that happened. So.
The magic of Emerald.
Yeah. But you learn eventually.
You learn. What are you going to have for dinner tonight?
We are just going to hook up our grill. It's finally gotten warm enough here in New York. Very cool spring. So we're going to hook up the grill, and my husband happens to make a killer rotisserie huli chicken.
Huli chicken?
Huli chicken. His magic marinade. So it's really good. And, it's
is
nice.
Huli. Is this a dish, or is this a husband's invention dish?
It's a Hawaiian, huli in Hawaiian means to turn. And they have in Hawaii, rotisserie chickens are called huli chickens, but it's with the marinade and whatnot, and they're just so delicious. And they're made over guave wood, which is close to mesquite but better. So we did. That was one of the things when we took the show to Hawaii.
Had to have a hulu chicken.
We had a hulu, but what happened was we were getting up in the morning to go on a shoot. Everybody's assembling, the crew, the cameras, all of that, and Emerald starts to go, he smells something, and he says, "Get in the car." And he says, "Drive over there." And, Wimpy going after the hamburgers, we followed our noses and found these 3 huge Hawaiian men over this, I don't know, probably a 10-foot by 10-foot pit where they were rotisserie, 10 different chickens at a time. It was for a church event. And Emerald just pulls over, he jumps out of the car, he says, "Aloha," and, "How many can we buy?" And he bought about 3 of them, and he goes, "Open the trunk," and, it's 9:30 in the morning. And, the chickens are splayed out, and the crew just dives in, And this is one of those off-camera kind of things. Nothing was running. It was just pure...
breakfast time.
Breakfast time. So it was great. So ever since then, my husband's been playing around trying to come up with his own recipe.
Nice. Well, that's exciting. I'm a little bit jealous now. I want a hulu chicken for dinner.
Well,
I'm gonna Google that.
We have plenty. It's a 5-pound bird.
It's a 5-pound. That is a big bird.
Big bird. Big bird. Well, you gotta have leftovers. So.
You gotta have leftovers. That's right. Particularly for eating healthy, the leftovers are what make it through like half of the week. You make that one amazing dish.
Yeah.
And then it's transformed for the next couple days, and you don't have to make another amazing dish, and it gets transformed for the next couple days. And on the 7th day, you order pizza.
Exactly. Or Chinese.
Or Chinese. That's right. Awesome. So the link to get your book is right down there. But would you like to go ahead and tell us where we can find the book, where we can find you?
Sure. Well, you can get my book at any of your favorite online bookstores, and as of June 4th, it should be available in your favorite bookstores. And if you want to find me, you can go to my website, which is thekatztales.com. So that's the KATZTALES.com. And all of my book tour is going to be on there, and all information about it, and other things that I write about. I blog as well, and I've got over 100 recipes. So come on over and leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, get on over to the website. The link for that is also right down there. So go hang out with Karen Katz, get the cookbook, find some more recipes, and read the blogs. I bet there's a lot of more fun stories that are there that didn't make it to the book.
Tons. So
tons.
You got to feed the beast. So yeah.
So many fun culinary tales. Definitely go read them. I'm gonna go read them. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's really fun. I'm a little jealous. Jealous. Could we trade lives just for like a minute?
Sure.
I have really cute dogs. You can hang out with them.
Well, you have a very nice kitchen. So.
Well, thank you. We try. I just transplanted all my herbs out of the window. They were living right there for the longest time, but they've moved on to bigger and better pots.
Exactly. Give them some room. Room to grow.
Room to grow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Anytime. I always love to have you back when you get the next one out. I'd love to get steeped.
Sure. Yeah. Well, give me a year.
All right. I'll give you a year. No problem. Time flies.
Takes time. Books are not like TV. Books take forever. So.
Yeah. I was homeschooled until 8th grade, so I'm a terrible speller. So I don't know my mom taught me to just write the story. Tell the story. Don't worry about your spelling. Just tell the story.
Yeah.
So I spelled W-U-Z until I was like 11.
Well, now, you just have a napkin, fix it up. So don't worry. Spell check.
Yeah. Chat GPT, just write it for me.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway.
I don't. Awesome. Well, you enjoy your chicken this evening. Tell your husband I said hello.
I will. And your wife?
I will. And everybody, go get sauced. Awesome sauce. Awesome, Karen. Thank you so much for being here. And everybody else, cheers.
Order up.